Good evening, everybody. Thanks for joining us here on the ice. Brought to you by Dokes Book Fuels, Case Financial Group, the Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, and of course, Toby Hockey. Head coach Brad Platt joining me tonight. Brad, you're missing on some fun stuff weather-wise. It's been quite a doozy up here, about an hour and a half away from you guys, but I guess it's only fair because it seems like that part of Manitoba gets clouded with so much snow, but the farmers don't complain. But nonetheless, it makes for some interesting travel days. Would you agree, Brad?
Yeah, I would agree. Even the last couple of days with that warm weather, if it would just stay at around the -10, -15, and I don't care how much snow is out there. I don't love the -40 kind of weather. And we need the snow anyways. We need the moisture for the farmers in the spring here.
Absolutely. Pilot Mountain is such a small community, but in and around Pilot Mountain, so much vastness. I mean, you could see for miles just the wheat fields, and it's quite a scene to see in the summertime because it's beautiful, it's picturesque, absolutely gorgeous. But like I said, -40 is a bit too cold.
Yeah, no, at least it's we don't have the old skating rink, the old barn, what we used to call it here anymore. The new rink sure helps when those -40 weather, that you don't have to wear a balaclava toque underneath your helmet and hot shots in your skates and your gloves. So that part's a little bit better.
It's the kids these days don't know how good they have it, do they, Brad? I mean, talk about Blackjack Stewart Arena, a state-of-the-art facility that a small town and surrounding communities get to use. Makes winter a little more bearable when you come to play ice hockey. Wouldn't I agree?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, and especially those cold days, if you can go down the rink and rink rat. And that was my life in the old barn. My dad ran the rink for, I don't know, 10, 15 plus years. So every minute there was spare time, we were out in the ice, and for 10 minutes back off for another 10 warming up.
So you have to go back and forth. Talking about the winter session, first half come and gone. Let's look at how the players are looking forward to the second half. There's always a little bit of a change coming January, finishing off December in a fairly good spot, doing a little bit better, seeing some progress. But unfortunately, we just haven't had the whole team on the ice to practice these last couple of weeks. And there's a bit of a change in the schedule. Give us some details on how that's working for these upcoming games that have been put onto a weekend that had a tournament canceled.
Yeah, just that sports school challenge that St. Mary's puts on has been canceled because it's considered a tournament. So, in Manitoba, we aren't allowed tournaments. So that opened up that weekend, and then there was some issues with the Iceplex with arenas. So we were going to lose one of our games this weekend with St. Mary's. So we decided just to move both games to that weekend at the showcase, or that sports school challenge was supposed to be on. So it actually worked out good because, we've had some kids with symptoms here and there, and we're just trying to keep everybody safe and healthy. And so there's been a few kids on and off the ice this week just showing symptoms and some tests and stuff. So yeah, I'm just hoping we get through this in the next week or two here. We also go out to Delta. I booked my tickets. We're flying, so I hope we can all stay healthy for that at the start of February. So
now, are you the only one flying to Delta, or is the whole team flying?
The whole team is going.
So I was going to say that's quite a bus trip.
Yeah, we've done that bus trip a couple of times. I really don't mind it, but I'm not driving, so that's a good full 2 days. And then with the road conditions out there, nobody's really sure what's going to be open and what's not going to be open. So all of a sudden that could potentially add another day to the trip on the way out, and then another day on the way home for time wise for the bus drivers. So, potentially we could be leaving on a Tuesday and getting home on a Tuesday. So, look, I did some looking into some flights, and, it's not a whole lot more. If I would have booked a couple months ago, it would have been better. But I think it's worth the flying, especially the kids being away from school for those extra days also. And just safety purposes, like some of the roads you might have to take to get to Delta, might be a little questionable. So yeah, I really hope it's a go. um, tickets are paid for.
Tickets are paid for. Let's hope they're refundable, and we'll keep our fingers crossed for those upcoming dates. Brad, a little bit of a, obviously the schedule, gets a little busier because you have to condense it. We're already getting halfway through January. March is going to come around real quick. What type of games do you prefer more? The secondary school hockey league games, the league games, or the exhibition games? Or is it just the fact that you get to see a competitive side for both the females from Manitoba perspective and then a Western Canadian perspective?
Yeah, I don't know if it really matters the games. I might be right after Christmas there having that showcase. Maybe could have been a week later just because our kids are coming back and kind of lost a couple steps after 2 or 3 weeks off the ice. But yeah, any games really, just to see that improvement. We've going to have 2 weeks of practice here, pushing the kids pretty good here. We have a lot of stuff to touch on again and to get remembering and working hard. And so those couple of games against St. Mary's is going to be good before we head back out west for another showcase. But yeah, it doesn't matter. Our exhibition games are AAA U18s in Manitoba are competitive. I just want competitive games.
I think we all do. And of course, with Christmas come and gone, still, unfortunately, under the Christmas tree, goal scoring did not come. Santa just hopefully can find that with some of these players. Maybe we can, see a couple of different sticks lighten the lamp for you guys.
Yeah, and with the female hockey, it's a lot of confidence is a big part of the game, and so been working a lot on stuff in practice. Cycling, scoring, shooting, lots of just trying to go out and have fun with it too, and don't put a lot of pressure on yourself. But be mad if you miss the net or if you don't score, but don't dwell on it.
Absolutely. No, it's one of those things you can teach. I still feel you can teach how to score goals. I think you can find that. And that's one thing that, when you stop in front of the net as opposed to circling away from the net, anything, good things happen when you put a puck on the net, right, Brad? And if you don't, what does Wayne Gretzky always say? You miss 100% of the shots you don't take. That's a common saying we hear amongst every player, is both male and female.
That's very true.
Very true. Absolutely. Speaking of goal scoring, what other things are we looking forward to seeing in the second half of the season, progressing from the first half for these players?
Just the compete level. I think we were getting there just before Christmas. Just be hard to play against. And that can be in a lot of different areas on the ice. Defensively, I think we're coming along pretty good. We're starting to move the puck out of our zone well, but we gotta get away from the spectating portion of it. We do well in practice, but in games we do a lot of watching the girl with the puck. Just basically learning how to play without the puck, And another guy that comes to mind is Wayne Gretzky too, right? So if these kids could learn how to play without the puck, they look at me like I'm crazy. Like, what are you talking about? But it's kind of funny. So, but I think we're getting there. I think I'm starting to make some headway on there. But we'll see in our next game.
Brad, would you look and consider the analytic of how much time a player has a puck on their stick compared to how much time they're moving without it? I mean, we see that in the big show now with more players, recording to the second almost of how much they have the puck on their stick versus how much they're moving to an open space.
Yeah, I'm really bad at keeping stats and doing all that kind of stuff on the bench. Games are for playing, practices are for learning. So I just kind of roll with it during games. There's a few things I'd like to keep track of on the bench, but being just one or two coaches, we don't really have a excess staff to be looking at all that. And then to cut video, I still do have another job too. So it'd be nice to have that kid that just loves that techie side of it and sit there and figure that out on all these videos, all these that you guys do for us. So Not right now. It'd be nice.
Just have to get them competing and scoring goals. Those are the wish one and wish two for the second half of the season. Let's shift our attention just a little bit, Brad, before I let you go to the seniors on the team. And they have to start thinking about their next level, where they're going to go after they graduate. Have you had those conversations with those players yet? And if not, when does that start for you to help the players realize and help them start looking for their next home?
Actually, that's funny because I spent about 10 minutes in practice today having a conversation with the girls, which I probably do once every 2 weeks for sure. Just, performance, school habits. Have you contacted any schools? Has any schools contacted you? Yeah. So have you filled out your resume? Yeah, we've had a lot of conversations. But yeah, these girls need to start reaching out to some schools, and they need to start performing on the ice. And that's basically our conversations for the last couple of weeks for sure. But yeah, they need to start figuring it out.
Do you have those conversations with the entire team, Brad, so that the younger players hear that as well? Because I think that's kind of one of those things that if you nodding your head, yes. So I think that's important that all the players get to hear that you can never start early enough. You can always start planning no matter what.
Yeah. I would agree. Even if you're in grade 9, you can start reaching out to schools. It doesn't matter. Or start practicing anyways. Start sending out those emails, those maybe 2 or 3 schools a week or every 2 weeks. Try and figure it out. But with girls, it's a little bit different with girls, and it's always been this way. You need to promote yourself a little bit. There is some scouts out there. There is some people watching, but you need to make that contact, and you need to brag about yourself. And guess what? Girls suck at bragging about themselves. They are really bad at it. So they look at you funny when you tell them that, but I'm like, seriously, you tell them why you would fit on their team. You have to tell them. So they're getting there, and those young girls are hearing the same message. So,
have you talked to any of the girls that have graduated prior to maybe discuss that with some of the current players?
No, I haven't actually, and that might be a good idea. Well, there's a couple of girls I've talked to. I still stay in touch with quite a few girls. If I have a girl that's kind of maybe not doing better than she could in school, I'll maybe have one of the other girls kind of reach out to her and just kind of push her a little bit instead of hearing it from me all the time.
You don't want to sound like the broken record, Brad, but that is your role, and to make sure that you explain to the players that not only what you're doing on the ice and the compete level, but also your compete level in the classroom is that much, if not more important, because there is life after hockey, both for the male and female programs.
Well, for sure. And we know with girls hockey, other than going to college or university, the next step is maybe Team Canada. Realistic goal. Yeah, it's a goal, but maybe not that realistic. There's a little bit of hockey overseas nowadays. So you got to figure out what school what you want to do first, and figure out what school offers those courses that you want, and then figure out what they got for hockey. So school is number one. Even here, we want these kids being good students, and that's going to take you a lot further in life.
The male program has a lot of role models, both professionally and in the ranks in Division I, Division III, Western Hockey League as such. How important is it to reestablish that role model sense for the female program with Hockey Canada, with international play and the opportunities, like you said, perhaps overseas?
Yeah, no, it's been good. We've had some podcasts or some Zoom meetings with some Team Canada players, and we'll try and get Delaney Collins on maybe a Zoom here sometime in the new year, and just chit chat with the girls. And even some of our girls that have gone on, like Kerrigan Umperville, has been successful down in D1. We can start maybe including some of our graduating players. Yeah, it's important. These girls need somebody to look up to.
Absolutely. So not shortened season, but season's going to come rather quick into middle of March, and after that, the third term is just a little bit of practicing, a little bit of getting together, still kind of keeping your edges sharp.
Yeah, that like at the end after our playoffs, we usually skate until May. Depends on the ice and the weather, but yeah, we stay on the ice every day. Maybe hopefully hold some camps and get some recruiting done and stuff like that. But I'm looking forward to this next little bit here before playoffs. Everybody makes playoffs, so if we can keep making those right steps, then I think we could have a lot of fun in Penticton in March.
Anything can happen once you make playoffs, right, Brad?
Absolutely. I've played on some teams. I was quite young, and nobody was, I was putting a lot of pressure on myself, and hey, just relax, don't worry about it. It's a long year. Everybody makes playoffs. We end up, I think 2 out of those 3 years I played for that team, we ended up winning the league. So yeah,
it makes it work.
Just a bunch of old guys that been around a long time. And but I'm trying to relay that message to these kids, and they just, I was probably that same kid. Like, what are you talking about? We need to win these games.
You need to build that, like you said at the beginning of the show, Brad. You got to build that confidence so that when you're going into playoffs, you're playing at your peak.
Yeah.
You can catch those teams that have kind of taken some time off and said, you know what, maybe we can catch them off guard, so to speak.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's true.
Very good, Brad. I'll let you go. Very much. Thanks so much for your time tonight. I know you've got a lot of planning and stuff to take care of. Good luck in the second half. I know we're going to talk to you probably sometime in February, and we look forward to seeing how the female team works.
Yeah, thank you, Theo. Thanks for having me on.
Always great to hear you. Brad Platt, the head coach of the varsity program at Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy. Up next, we're going to join our friend Wayne Kosior with Wayne's World. We'll discuss some hot topics upcoming this season. And we'll be right back after the break. Welcome to Pilot Mountain Hockey Academy, your world-class academic and hockey training facility created to maximize each student's athletic and academic potential. Blackjack Stewart Arena, home of the Buffalo, is inside the 46,000 square foot complex, as well as a curling rink and other facilities. The students have a unique combination of successful, well-rounded education at Pilot Mountain Collegiate Institute and the professional hockey training in an encouraging community. The years of experience of on-ice coaching propel our students to the next level, both mentally and physically, in a professional environment. If we're trying to play a trick on you, no, we're not playing a trick on you. We just had to rotate the order here because my good buddy Wayne, thankfully, got home safe because he's got quite a busy day. He was in Red Deer last night. How was Red Deer?
It was great. There was a wicked storm that went through Red Deer last night, but I guess that storm kind of arrived here in Saskatchewan today. It's probably going to be in Manitoba about now or tomorrow, I would assume.
It's already here, man. I can't wait for it to end. Let me tell you, it's quite an interesting day. Your boy Brando, goal, assist, +1. No Gordie Howe hat trick though, but first star of the game.
Yeah, he had a great game there last night. So it was fantastic atmosphere there in the Centrum Arena in Red Deer, and the Raiders came out with a great win over a pretty big and heavy and talented Red Deer Rebels team.
Now, Wayne, I got to ask you the question. When do you take dad hat off and put scouting hat on for not your son this year, but previous years? Is it difficult for you to do, and do you analyze the game the same way?
Yeah, I mean, back when he was playing midget AAA and stuff, obviously I was scouting the games then, but it doesn't change it too much, really. But obviously a little bit more exciting and interesting game for me when I have my boy playing, but it doesn't really change it a lot. And I mean, I think I do probably watch a game differently than most parents and people do type things. I'm watching for the little finer things, but all good. I enjoy it anyway.
Let's talk about the first half of the season. The fact that we saw players, for the most part in Western Canada and south of the border, of course, play a full half of the season. Does that just show how resilient young players are, how much they love the game, and how much the game really is just like riding a bike and getting better at it every day?
Yeah, it's good to see that it's been going pretty good. The hockey fairly uninterrupted for the most part. Certainly south of the border, it's been going seamless. And even in Canada, I guess without a few exceptions of a few cancellations, and the OJHL has paused for a little while, and I think the OHL did a little bit too. But seems like they're probably going to come back on stream pretty quickly here and stuff. So it's been good. And again, like I say, the kids have been doing a good job staying healthy, and the few that did get infected, it doesn't seem to be too terribly bad for them, and they're not out for too terribly long. So it's looking fairly optimistic from my perspective.
Fairly optimistic. I'm sure travel is fun always during the winter months here in Canada. What has been going for you lately, keeping your eye on events north and south of the border for these, not as a scout, but also considering your discussions with families and their next position, their next progression in their careers?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's still go to the old standbys. I mean, there's hockey TV and Nstat particularly. I mean, the Nstat Analytics, for any of our viewers aren't aware, is probably, the number one for junior hockey teams and for scouts, and even the NHL does use it. So it's a analytical program that was created in Russia, and it basically allows you to kind of just watch highlights of specific players that you're watching. I mean, you can watch just all their minutes on the ice. You can just watch when they score. You can watch when they make a hit. It's an incredible program that really saves us scouts a lot of time. So doing primarily that, there has been a little bit of, in-arena viewing, and I was actually supposed to do a game here in Regina tonight, but the key player that I was supposed to scout contracted COVID on the weekend. So gave me the night off, so I get to watch the Oil Kings and Raiders game tonight on WHL Live TV.
Oh, you get to watch your boy play. That's okay. And
Yeah,
you're gonna give
so
him
bonus.
you're gonna give him the rundown after the game, or that's not your job anymore?
No, never typically do much after the game, and even most game days won't touch base with him and stuff like that. So he's got his own agent and people that advise him, but I do give him the odd tip when I see something. But he's pretty self-sufficient at this stage now.
You mentioned Instat. You mentioned obviously the more broadcasting availability of video clips all over the internet. How else has scouting changed, not just primarily for you over the ages, but especially now that we're in a second half of the season? We're going to see a second WHL draft as well as the other drafts that you're involved with, the USHL in June and the NAP. Mm-hmm. So how busy is your schedule going to be? How does it change for you now that we're at the beginning of 22 and the next 6 months can be crazy?
Yeah, crazy is probably a good word. It's an extremely busy time of year. Thank goodness we just got past the WHL trade deadline there, and Canadian Junior Hockey League deadline passed last Monday, I guess it would have been a week ago. And we have the North American League and the USHL is coming up here soon, here at the end of the month. So those are some critical stages to get past when a lot of the player movement will stop, and then we can start getting focused on watching the players that we want to look at for the draft, because they'll come up before you know it. They'll be starting early May is when most of them are happening, and into the early June. And so it's going to be an extremely busy time. And again, a lot of it's going to be just on Instat, watching video and stuff, and kind of starting to get guys narrowed down, and we can take some finer looks at it. And if they happen to be playing here locally, we get to see them. But roughly, I was going to be out at the SJHL and the MJHL showcase later this month, but it looks like that's off. So that's going to prevent us from looking at all those junior players from Manitoba and Saskatchewan, which is kind of a shame.
Yeah, that was, that could have been upwards of 120 to 160 players involved, and spoke with my good friend from the Dauphin Kings on that matter and how easily it could have happened just having these players tested prior to leaving. And unfortunately, both leagues decided that it wasn't in their best interest as of now. hopefully that can happen in Manitoba again. I know it's been in Saskatchewan the last several years. It was nice to see it to come to Manitoba, but like I said, just wasn't able to happen. Nstat, I mean, I don't know if I haven't looked at the program lately, but one topic Brad and I talked about in part one tonight, the amount of time a player has the puck on his stick versus the amount of time he's skating to an open area. Is that something that is critical for young players to learn, just instead of being a stargazer and then being an all-star themselves?
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of the things. I mean, in some cases, there's probably too many stats in there, and you can get dragged down the drain if you start really looking at them too much. And I really don't do that, because I think there's still a case where you can actually overanalyze a player and stuff like that. And I more so look at the basics. Just look for their skating was obviously a key thing for them, and that's their puck handling ability, and like I say, ability to get open, ability to make good passes, and so still kind of a lot of the basics. And then, of course, I do like to see them live, as we've talked in past episodes, right? So we can just see what their body language is away from the play and when they're sitting on the bench and stuff. So, that does help us. And that's one thing, with us not getting to as many live games as it is, we're not going to get to see that. So it does probably increase the margin of error in some of the decisions that we make and recommend to our general managers.
From a scouting perspective, working with the organizations you're scouting for, Wayne, are you making the initial discussion point with that prospective player? How has that process kind of changed? I mean, are we seeing videotape being sent to you directly? Are you finding it elsewhere? How does that make you available to the prospective player that you're looking to add to the next organization?
Yeah, well, certainly any player I do talk to from an advisory perspective or from a scouting perspective, that do try to promote the fact that they do get a good highlight reel and put it on YouTube or somewhere online that they can just send a link to me, or that I can take and forward on to those up higher up the ladder within our organizations and stuff. Because we can go look on Instat, but it does take, even though as good as it is, it does take some time too, right? And I always tell the players, the easier you can make it for somebody to look at some good video of you, the better your chance is, right? And the other thing I always remind the players is, just don't show you scoring goals, because they got to see how you play a 200-foot game, right? What's your physical game type thing? How do you do on penalty kill and stuff, and shorthanded situations and power play? Like, try to give a little bit of everything. And same as I say about goalies, right? Make sure and show you playing the puck, getting out of your net and all that stuff, right? Talking to your players. Those are some of the things that you want to show in your video to show all components of your game. But again, I think some people just make the mistake of, forwards, they want to show themselves scoring. Goalies want to just show them making big saves. And yeah, those are important, but we need to see the whole game on that, and I recommend anywhere from 3 to 5 minutes is probably all you need.
That doesn't have to be like a 20-minute game reel. Just make it short, make it simple. And like you said, the game is 200 feet long. Make sure you make that reel 200 feet long. I think that's a great piece of advice for these young players. The other piece I'll say is that it's up to you, the player, to make yourself and showcase your talent versus having you approach the player and say, I'd really like to see some game film on you. And that's where you have to say, as a player, I'm going to make myself available to these teams, because you want to showcase your talent. You want to make it to the next level. Absolutely. How is the new role as CEO? And Wayne, are you keeping busy? Obviously, Nevin's making you pretty busy with that, I'm sure.
Yeah. Nevin's cracking the whip on me and stuff like that. I thought I was higher in the organization than him, but seems to be sometimes when he's cracking the whip on me, he thinks he's on the top and stuff. But it's been going fantastic, far exceeding our expectations early out of the gate and stuff. And we've signed up a lot of promising, great players from across Western Canada down into the U.S. and into Europe and stuff. So going great guns. Our clients seem to be extremely pleased with the model that we have and how we mentor them. And we've seen some great early success in some players that we help move to different leagues and different teams, and they're just lighting it up. So again, maybe just lucky timing or something, but certainly we've seen some great results just in the early mentoring of what we're helping these players do, and some great feedback from the parents and stuff. So couldn't be more excited about the future.
Trailblazerhockey.com, correct?
Trailblazerhockey.com. Yeah, that's where you can find out all about us. And like I say, we'd love to hear from any players or parents that are wanting to know more about the advisory business and how we can help players. And certainly we'd be happy to reference clients that we've been advising now and helping, and the great results we've had. And, it's an important part of hockey today. It's changed. And I always tell parents it kind of changed when the academies came in. And suddenly parents are paying anywhere from 20 to 50, 60,000 a year to have their kids in these academies. And so they want to be making sure they're making good decisions at that level even. And, it's like buying insurance by having us involved. We know all these academies. We know the people there. We can make some recommendations on what your players should be doing and shouldn't be doing. And then, of course, as you move up the ranks into junior, we help you find your teams there, advise you on the right things to do. And then, of course, hopefully after that, you're either going to the WHL or you're going to NCAA or U Sports. And again, we understand all that stuff and can help you too and take all that stress out of your life.
Taking that stress out of the professional life, the NHL's obviously stayed true to their guns and not included themselves in the Olympics. But how excited, this is going to be our only hot take tonight, because I could only think of one better way. I mean, we're looking at like 2 weeks and we are going to see the word amateur, well, for now, reintroduced into ice hockey at the Olympics. How excited are you to see some of these young players, and obviously for them themselves, to represent country for the first time or second time overseas or any type of Olympic setting?
Yeah, well, for me, I'm personally super excited because, I still think of the Olympics as for amateurs. And so I love when it's the college guys playing versus the pros. I always go back to kind of the first time I really started watching in 1980 at Lake Placid when, the Miracle on Ice happened with the Americans beating the Russians and stuff. I mean, I don't think I can think of any more exciting hockey than happened there. And so many of those NCAA kids that played in there and beat those Russian, they were pros. I mean, they were classified that for that tournament type thing. But it was so exciting to see all those NCAA guys that went on to great NHL careers after that from the Olympics was phenomenal. So I'm super pumped about it. I mean, I didn't even care to watch it if the NHL guys are going to be there. But now that these college kids are going to be there, I'm pumped for it. What about you, Theo?
I think it's the same. I mean, I'm looking forward to seeing. I don't think I've seen the U.S. Roster announced. That was done earlier or later last week, but I haven't seen the Canadian roster fully announced, and I'm waiting and hoping to see that soon. I know seeing players like Eric Stahl being reintroduced into the AHL ranks potentially. His name is floating around. I've seen some ghost rosters, including some guys like forecheck, backcheck, paycheck, and Freddie Brathwaite showing up in the goal. But
Yeah.
I know those are kind of farces. But, seeing players like Owen Power, Cole Perfetti, Matt Berniers, like Jake Sanderson for UND. I mean, Jake Sanderson, I mean, I think he missed the World Juniors more than anybody playing for Team USA. But having him have the opportunity to go to Beijing and play, that kid, I mean, talk about some of the sacrifices these NCAA players are making to go overseas for a couple of weeks because they weren't given the opportunity to finish a World Junior Championship, which from what I hear is going to happen in the summer now. So for the players that had their World Junior opportunity taken away, this is now their opportunity to perform at an amateur level, but against older players too. So I'm looking forward to it. I might be excited because I think the playing field might be a little more level.
Yeah, absolutely. And like I say, I'm old school. I like the Olympics is supposed to be for the best amateur athletes in the world. And by introducing professionals into there, it's just, it's changed the game. And so I couldn't be happier to see what's going to be happening here.
We didn't talk much about, you mentioned the CJHL and the WHL trade deadlines occurred. A couple of trades between some of our teams, including the Winnipeg Ice here, adding some more depth to their roster, getting rid of a 2022 first-round draft pick. Interesting call, but nonetheless, we will discuss those next week, Wayne, with you as we look into more of the players and how these rosters are setting up for their final runs for this second half of the season. Well, thank you very much for joining me, Wayne. Really appreciate you taking the time. And I know you were driving like a, how do I say it? A responsible madman on the road. How about that?
Exactly. Yeah, it's great to be home and stuff. And always good chatting with you, Theo. And you have a great week, and we'll talk next Tuesday.
Wayne's World here, brought to you by our friends at Dokes Brookfields, Case Financial, Toby Hockey, and the Pilot on Hockey Academy. We'll be back next Tuesday with you, Wayne Kosior and Wayne's World. We'll start it off at 6 unless we have some travel issues again. Take care, everybody. Bringing more goodness to the greatness as always here on ASTV. And enjoy the rest of the week. And make sure you're shoveling. Use your legs. Don't use your back. Talk to you soon. Bye-bye.